Vaibhav Suryavanshi was a few days old. I was a few days old, I repeat, when India lifted the 2011 ODI World Cup. Now, yesterday, his partner, Yashasvi Jaiswal, a wonderkind in Indian cricket in his own right, was 9 years older than him. And also, MS Dhoni is more than 3 times his age. Dhoni is 43, this guy's 49. I mean, it's truly mind-boggling what he's done. Now, we knew all these age-related facts before the tournament even started, but now he's bloody gone on to make a 35-ball 100 in arguably one of the biggest cricket tournaments in the world. Now, there have been insiders, there have been some critics saying that he's not really 14. But even if he's 14, even if he's 15, even if he's 16, this was just mind-boggling, right?
It was. This was an incredible knock, Anirudh. Look at the way he went about it. And remember, let's put it in perspective. When he made his debut in the IPL a few games ago, the first ball he faced, he hit for a six of Shardul Thakur. The third ball he faced, he hit for a six. So it's not some, I would say that there is a certain pattern which is emerging. And the way I see it is, this is a record-breaking knock in many, many ways, and it's become the buzz of the cricket world. But this young man has played India under 19. He's played first-class cricket. So in his very young life, just 14 years old, he's fairly achieved a fair amount of work. So clearly he's emerging as a prodigy. I mean, don't forget, we've had prodigies in the past in India. None other, better example than Sachin Tendulkar, who was scoring big runs at the age of 14, 15 and 16. So I think that this innings from Suryavanshi has highlighted one thing which is kind of showcased and hammered down for people like us and skeptics that the talent in India is abundant and it is incredible. Just the sheer exuberance with which he went about batting from first ball till he got dismissed, and to sustain that kind of hitting, it's not just slogging. I think that the range of his strokes was quite extraordinary. So from third man to fine leg, he covered every area, every square centimeter of that ground, and the kind of strokes that he played, the splendid timing, the power when it was needed, it just showed a cricketing mind beyond his 14 years.
Yeah, and you brought up Sachin Tendulkar. I wanted to know one thing. So, I was born after Tendulkar had already made his test debut, so I wasn't around to see all the frenzy about this young schoolboy cricketer coming up. But you, Ayaz, you were at the top of your game. You're the veteran of the game. So, you must have seen him coming through the ranks. And give me a sense of how it was like. I mean, I'm sure it was at a much higher, bigger, huge scale than it is for Vaibhav Suryavanshi, right?
Yeah, I think one has to be wary of these kind of comparisons. The comparison is valid to the extent of saying, hey, he's also a prodigy. He looks like a prodigy. Sachin was also a prodigy. School's record with Vinod Kambli, world record in schools cricket, and then 100 in his first class game, 100 in Ranji Trophy, 100 in Duleep Trophy, 100 in Irani Trophy, and then playing Test cricket at the age of 16. I think the test of all these prodigies, there have been many prodigies who've kind of flopped after their first big season or the first big score, is the sustenance. Because I kept hearing last night in the commentary that he's batting fearlessly, but he is, and he was, and everybody else is batting fearlessly. I mean, Yashasvi Jaiswal, who was at the other end, was also batting fearlessly. That's what we've come to accept now, because unless you are batting fearlessly, you can't survive in the T20 format. We've seen Abhishek Sharma hit a century this season. He made 141. We've seen Priyansh Arya make a century, the fastest still. Suryavanshi, crossed him yesterday. They've also been batting fearlessly. I think the issue is not so much fearlessly as the methodology of how he has been going about playing his strokes. And that is what had marked out Sachin as, very different. So Sachin went on to achieve great heights. He didn't remain just a prodigy. He became a phenomenon and then ended his career as one of the greatest of all time. So I think there's good reason for all of us to be excited by the talent that Vaibhav Suryavanshi has shown. But I don't think we should tag him immediately with these kind of, the comparison is valid to the extent that he's a prodigy. But now, this whole thing of fearlessness and how good he is now will start taking effect now, because now the pressures of expectation will mount from himself and from the people outside, from his teammates, from his coaches, from the fans, and so on and so forth. So it's been a spectacular start to his IPL career, or to, in many ways, a career which is showcasing this talent to the rest of the world. But I think it's the longevity which becomes important where a prodigy is concerned. You can look at all. I mean, the number of prodigies we've had in tennis, for instance. Anirudh, you will bear me out. But not everybody goes on to become a Becker or an Agassi or even a Federer or Venus or Serena Williams and so on and so forth. For every one of the names I mentioned, there'll be scores, if not hundreds, of young players who couldn't make the cut after their first big match or first big season. So I think it's great to see such a young talent, but I think now the onus will shift to Suryavanshi and his minders, his coach, his parents, his family, of how he is helped to navigate his path from here.
So yeah. So talking about the scores of younger talent coming up, you were telling me off camera how when you walk past Shivaji Park, you see a bunch of these youngsters tonking the ball. They're not playing on the ground; they're just hitting it for sixes. Now, earlier there used to be this ambition to play for India and to play in all three formats and do well. Do you think with this IPL generation there is a sort of practicality saying that, okay, I'm really good at hitting the ball, so maybe I'll just focus on franchise league cricket?
I think perforce, there's not much choice for youngsters because there's such a clamor. There's so many of them. And what is the best way to catch attention now? If you want to grind out 100 in red ball cricket, and it's going to take a day and a half, I think the noticeability of that, bringing you into the limelight is just become so remote. So I think there's a whole generation and subsequent generations are going to use T20 or white ball cricket to come into immediate attention. And as I mentioned, I pass by Shivaji Park quite frequently, and everybody is tonking the ball out of the park. I mean, I remember going and watching Sachin Tendulkar when he had just about come into, made that big scores for in schools cricket. And the first thing, or what they were told most, vehemently from by the coaches is don't lift the ball, don't hit the ball in the air, otherwise you can be sent packing back home. Because that's not the way you played cricket. But the whole ethos has changed now. Suryavanshi is already upstage guys like Abhishek Sharma. Forget about Rishabh Pant and Ishan Kishan. Even Abhishek Sharma, who was a sensation last season, he's not trying to do. He's not a maverick. He didn't appear to be, at least on the evidence of this knock. So he's bold, he's brave, but he's got some excellent strokes, and he's a great judge of length. So I don't, he doesn't have to play too many unconventional strokes to make the impact or score the runs, and that is a great strong quality. Because remember, Anirudh, from now on, as we speak, coaches and captains and rival bowlers across this league and elsewhere in the world will be saying, "Hey, let us watch what he does, how, and then see how we can control or curtail him." So, as I mentioned earlier, the challenges are only going to start now after he's played this, spectacular innings.
Yeah, that's really true. So we've all seen this quite a few times when someone has a breakout season in their first debut year, and then everyone starts watching them closely, and the second year there isn't much of a follow-up. And someone who has been following through and is in many ways an antithesis of this sort of player is Sai Sudarshan, who has the orange cap right now. Now, he is not the same swashbuckling player like your Abhishek Sharmas or even your Vaibhav Suryavanshis, but this guy is Mr. Consistent right now. He is playing at an average of 50 and a strike rate of 150, which is not shabby, but I mean, compared to the others, it might look so. But this guy has been consistent for a couple of years and he has great shots. I mean, classical shots, he can hit sixes as well. And he's been having a purple patch right now. So, how close do you think we are to seeing him in India's test team?
I think very close. Remember, we are going to England not too far from now, in a couple of months. So, and he's looked a very organized batsman as well as inventive. Inventiveness or innovation comes with that age group now. If you're not if you're a player between 16 and 24, 25 now, and if you're not, inventive, then you don't stand a chance even in Test cricket. So, I think Sai Sudarshan, to me, has been perhaps the most impressive batsman so far because he's played that many more matches. Of course, in Suryavanshi's case, the age factor matters a lot because he's about 9-10 years younger than Sai Sudarshan. But 23-24 for Sai Sudarshan, he's a very young batsman himself. The other thing which Suryavanshi you might add, and I like to add it here, that his runs came against Gujarat Titans, which at least till last night looked the best team on the field. I mean, not necessarily in terms of points, but the most balanced. Lots of high quality fast bowlers, Siraj, uh, Prasiddha Krishna, Rashid Khan, Sai Kishore, all these kind of bowlers to tame that kind of an attack was something extraordinary. So yes, Sai Sudarshan is somebody who's caught my attention, and I think if he can sustain this form till the end, because looks to me that they will GT should be Gujarat Titans should be in the knockout, and then if you go further, because you right now, as we've said it often enough, there's such intense competition for places in every format from Indian players amongst themselves. So you have a slip up, 2 or 3 matches where you make small scores, and somebody else does scores which are makes runs which are get all the headlines and all the attention. Then you never know how the selectors will react. So I think I think this is a great time, but actually, look at the way it's happening in Indian cricket. There's so much talent coming through, which is extraordinary, and I think this is happening not just in batting but also in bowling. So Indian cricket has never looked stronger to me, albeit right now we're only discussing T20 cricket, but all of this eventually does translate into how we also play Test cricket. Now, last year's two twin debacles against New Zealand and Australia aside, I think if you look at the last 7, 8, 10 years, India have been the most consistent team. And there is no fear in saying that in terms of talent, there is no country better now than India.
Yeah, and well said. And what else? Apart from this mind-boggling century that he made, what essentially he also did, Vaibhav, was that he gave a lifeline to his team, Rajasthan, who were nowhere close to making the playoffs, still might not make the playoffs, but I think their fans and even most of the neutrals, I presume, would want to see them into the playoffs because they can see more of Vaibhav. So we'll track how that goes. We'll also track how the test team will shape up. So we'll come back to you after the next set of matches. So that's it for this episode of Sports Room. We'll see you next time.
Thanks. Take care. Bye bye.